This is so stupid, and I honestly don't think I'm in the wrong, but my girlfriend is upset at me, and it makes me feel like second guessing. My 24-year-old girlfriend, 24-year-old, is incredible. She's insanely hot and probably the nicest person I know. We've been going out for just around a year and a half and get along great. My one gripe is that she is obsessed with K-pop. Don't get me wrong, I'm not shitting on it. I respect her music taste. I even let her drag me to a concert a while back. It's definitely not my thing, but it makes her happy, so I don't really care. Recently, though, she seems to have gotten way more obsessed with this group, particularly one guy called Bangchan. I'm not an insecure man by any means, but she has been taking it too far. She changed her lock screen to him, and she carries a picture of him around everywhere. She has like 10 of them and matches them to her outfits. She watches every live stream or video that has him in it too. It's odd, but mostly harmless. So I haven't said anything about it. I mean, I've had celebrity crushes before, like Sydney Sweeney, so I know it's normal to an extent, but my girlfriend takes it too far. Recently, she spent hundreds of dollars on several copies of the same album because apparently it enters you into a prize draw to video call the group. I'm not really sure how it works, but she obviously didn't win and was inconsolable. Not even about her reckless spending, but because she can't talk to Bangchan. She managed to resell them, so that wasn't a problem. But I think her obsession with him is a little concerning. Just today, a picture of him she ordered arrived in the mail, and she started cooing over how cute he looked. At this point, I'd had enough and told her that her obsession was getting unhealthy and she needed to realize he doesn't actually care about her and that she's falling for marketing. She got really huffy and said she knew that she was just having fun and I was being a weenie for making fun of her interests. I honestly think I've been really patient with her and haven't said anything out of line, so am I the jerk here? Update, hey everyone, thank you for all the replies. I've read through everything but obviously can't respond to them all. It's given me a lot of perspective. I'm glad I'm not the jerk in this situation, but honestly, I don't think she is one either. I think some of you might have gotten the wrong idea about her. She's not obsessed with Korean men or anything in general, just her K-pop group. And she's not prioritizing watching live streams over our dates or anything. I admit I blew some things a bit out of proportion, so I feel like I should clear some things up. She doesn't carry around the picture in her hand or anything. It's on the back of her phone case, and in regards to the lottery raffle, she wasn't inconsolable in a literal sense. She was just sad and mopey, which I thought was disproportionate. Obviously, I'm not breaking up with her over something so small or freaking her with a mask of him on, but I did talk to her about it like some of you suggested. She reassured me that she was self-aware and it was all just a bit of fun, but said she understood how it might seem a bit concerning or uncomfortable to me. She has ADHD, so she does fixate on things. Her childhood was also pretty rough, so she likes doing things to make her inner child happy, like this. She seems to recognize that her interest is childish, but doesn't want it to get in the way of us. So she's promised to tone it down and be a bit more receptive to my own hobbies too. She has attended some of my gigs in the past and seems to enjoy the films we watch together, so this could be good for us both. I think it really clicked for her when I asked her how it would feel if the roles were reversed. If I was carrying around a picture of Sydney Sweeney or Victoria DeAngelis all the time. Even if she wasn't jealous of them, she would find it creepy, right? She doesn't want to give up the cards completely because they're monetarily valuable apparently, but she's put them in a binder instead of her phone case, which I think is much healthier. I'm really glad she was so open and would like to thank you all for your help. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Okay, you're the idiot for this specific statement. At this point I had enough and told her that her obsession was getting unhealthy and she needed to realize he doesn't actually care about her and that she's falling for marketing. She is a super fan. Men are super fans of things. Looking at you sports teams. Are these super fans unhealthy? I've seen more men cry after a Super Bowl loss than at funerals and spend way more on tickets, memorabilia, flights to follow them around the country. You don't like K-pop. You'd like her to limit your conversation about it. You made a mean, snarky, and untrue comment. I think you should look up John Gottman's 4 Horsemen for relationships because criticism and contempt are 2 of them. If you genuinely love her girlfriend and want a relationship, you would use I statements, but genuinely, she's not that weird, at least as far as super fandom goes. If it's a deal breaker, then just go. If you have actual concerns you don't, express them. If you love her, accept her quirks because everyone has quirks. Comment 2. Not the idiot, but... If she was crazily obsessed with a particular sports team and star player, what would your reaction be? I'm always puzzled about this because I see plenty of young adults that are absolutely insane about a particular team. They wear the jerseys, they hang the posters, they attend games, not cheap either those games. They buy merch, and it seems to be completely acceptable. So, what is the difference? I am not asking this in a snarky way. I'm asking because I genuinely do not understand. Swiftie, K-pop, Toronto Maple Leafs. OMG, I can't stop hearing the name of Austin Matthews right now. To me, they are all equal and the same. Now for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for reading my update. It's been a wild week since I last posted about my girlfriend's obsession with the K-pop star Bang Chan. I thought things were improving after our talk, but boy was I wrong. A few days ago, my girlfriend came home all excited, saying she had a surprise for me. She handed me a ticket to a fan meet-and-greet event with her favorite K-pop group. I was shocked. These tickets are notoriously hard to get and cost a fortune. When I asked her how she managed to snag one, she just smiled and said she had her ways. I was a bit uneasy about the whole thing, but I decided to go along with it for her sake. The event was last night, and it was a complete disaster. We waited in line for hours, and when we finally got to the front, my girlfriend started hyperventilating. She was so nervous to meet Bang Chan that she could barely speak. When it was our turn to take a picture with the group, my girlfriend practically threw herself at Bang Chan. She wrapped her arms around him and wouldn't let go, even when the security guards tried to pull her away. It was so embarrassing. Everyone was staring at us, and I could see the discomfort on Bang Chan's face. After we were escorted out of the event, my girlfriend broke down in tears. She kept saying how she had ruined her one chance to meet her idol and how she would never forgive herself. I tried to comfort her, but she pushed me away and said I didn't understand. On the way home, she dropped a bomb on me. Apparently, she had been saving up for months to buy those tickets, but when she couldn't get them through the official channels, she turned to a scalper. She ended up paying 3 times the original price, which wiped out her entire savings account. I was furious. How could she be so irresponsible? We had been planning to move in together next month, but now I'm not so sure. I feel like I don't even know her anymore. This obsession has completely taken over her life, and I don't know how to help her. To make matters worse, I found out this morning that she had been lying to me about her job. She told me she had been working overtime to save up for our new apartment, but it turns out she was fired weeks ago for missing too many shifts. She's been spending all her time watching K-pop videos and trying to win fan contests instead of looking for a new job. I'm at my wit's end. I love her, but I don't know if I can handle this anymore. Her obsession has turned into a full-blown addiction, and it's affecting every aspect of our lives. I've tried to be supportive, but I feel like I'm enabling her at this point. I know I need to have a serious talk with her, but I'm afraid of how she'll react. What if she chooses her idol over me? What if she can't see how much this is hurting our relationship? I don't want to lose her, but I also can't keep living like this. I'm sorry for rambling, but I needed to get this off my chest. I appreciate all the advice and support you've given me so far. I know I have some tough decisions to make, but I'm hoping we can work through this together. Thanks for listening. Aita for confronting a deaf student. And their interpreter for disrupting our music recital. First off, for some context, I am a music major in college and I'm all for accessibility. When Joe introduced himself and his interpreter, I said, wow, this is really interesting. Everything was fine. We all got used to the interpreter being there and no one really paid attention to the fact that he was deaf, except for one class. A class that everyone as music majors takes, a performance recital class. In this class, people take turns each week to perform. It was explained to us at the beginning of the year, some of the basic common decency, like clapping when they finish singing, not talking, turning off your phone, stuff like that. Just being nice for the performer, you know? Anyways, the year started off fine in this class, but lately you could tell he wasn't signing to his interpreter about the songs. The reason for this is because we sing opera classical songs in this class, so the interpreter didn't know the language. To be fair, no one did, so she definitely wasn't translating the songs, but rather just cracking jokes because he's laughing. In the middle of the performances, you could just imagine as a performer seeing someone laugh as you are performing. On top of that, this is all happening in the front row, with the interpreter in front of the stage on the side, laughing as well, snickering and giggling all throughout the performance, so much so that even one of the performers looked to the side to see what was happening, but just kept singing and ignoring it. I tried ignoring it, thinking, you know what, he's deaf, he already has a hard time, no need to bug him more. But I finally had enough when a friend of mine sang her song, and she and I previously translated the song. It was a very, very sad song about death and deleting yourself. What was Joe doing? Signing, not just signing, smacking. I say smacking because I had asked another deaf friend of mine, and he said a deaf person knows when they are smacking their hands because it hurts. And if he was doing it loud enough to hear, then he knows what he's doing. His hands and laughing about something else. He made a gesture that you do when someone is pregnant. You know, like making a circle over your stomach and rubbing. Anyways, maybe that means something else. But laughing, like come on. Not just quiet laughing, by the way, audible snickering. Finally, I had enough and went up to both him and the interpreter. I told them I understand the need to translate what the teacher is saying and everything else, but the last song that my friend sang was not a funny song. It was not only distracting, but rude to be talking and laughing while someone is performing, especially when you're right smack in the front row. The interpreter stayed quiet, and he just went on to say that I'm ableist and that it shouldn't matter what he does because he's deaf and I can't take his means of communicating. But I'm not saying he should stop. I'm saying in the middle of performances, he should at least not laugh. Anyways, what do you guys think? Am I the idiot? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Rude is rude. The difference in ability should only excuse someone if it's a mental or developmental one, where they are not capable of learning protocol or controlling themselves. You can be a jerk no matter what your abilities are. Laughing during a recital is so incredibly cruel. He knows better, and a hearing impairment does not give him a pass on basic decency. Comment 2. Yeah, I was really expecting this to be you're the jerk, YTA, but it's totally not. Rule of thumb, if it's inappropriate for two people to be whispering and laughing, it's equally inappropriate for two people to be signing and laughing. Not the idiot. That interpreter was way out of line and this was totally inappropriate. Now for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for reading my previous post. It's been a wild 2 weeks since then, and I've got some updates for you. After confronting Joe and his interpreter about their disruptive behavior during performances, things took a turn for the worse. The next day I was called into the dean's office. Apparently Joe had filed a complaint against me, claiming that I was discriminating against him because of his disability. I tried to explain my side of the story, but the dean seemed more concerned about avoiding a potential lawsuit than actually addressing the issue at hand. Word quickly spread around the department about the incident, and I found myself on the receiving end of some pretty harsh judgment from my peers. Some accused me of being insensitive and ableist, while others simply avoided me altogether. It was a lonely and frustrating time, and I started to question whether I had done the right thing by speaking up. As the days went by, I noticed that Joe and his interpreter were still causing disruptions during performances, but now they were being even more blatant about it. They would openly laugh and make jokes, even during the most emotional and serious pieces. It was clear that they felt emboldened by the lack of consequences for their actions. I knew I couldn't just sit back and let this continue, but I also didn't want to risk further backlash. I decided to approach my friend whose performance had been disrupted and apologize for not doing more to support her. To my surprise, she revealed that she had been dealing with similar issues with Joe and his interpreter for months, but had been too afraid to speak up. Together, we decided to gather evidence of the ongoing disruptions and present it to the department head. We recorded videos of Joe and his interpreter's behavior during performances and collected statements from other students who had witnessed it firsthand. It was a risk, but we knew we had to take a stand, and when we finally presented our case to the department head, he was initially skeptical. He questioned whether we were overreacting and suggested that we try to be more understanding of Joe's unique needs. But as we showed him the evidence we had collected, his demeanor began to change. In the end, the department head agreed to have a meeting with Joe and his interpreter to discuss their behavior. He made it clear that while accommodations would continue to be made for Joe's disability, disruptive behavior during performances would not be tolerated. Joe and his interpreter were given a warning and told that any further incidents would result in disciplinary action. It was a small victory, but it felt like a huge weight had been lifted off my shoulders. I realized that sometimes doing the right thing means standing up for what you believe in, even when it's difficult or unpopular. Looking back, I can see how my own experiences growing up with a disabled sibling had shaped my perspective on the situation. I had always been taught to be accommodating and understanding, but I had also learned the importance of setting boundaries and holding people accountable for their actions. It was a delicate balance, but one that I knew I had to navigate if I wanted to be a true advocate for accessibility and inclusion. In the end, I'm grateful for the lessons I've learned from this experience. It hasn't been easy, but it's taught me the importance of speaking up, even when it's scary or uncomfortable. And it's shown me the power of coming together with others to create positive change. Thanks for sticking with me through this update, everyone. It means a lot to have your support and understanding. And Aita for getting annoyed. At my roommate's comment not knowing she has autism, I have 3 roommates. Dan, 24-year-old male, has a guest Erin, 25-year-old female, staying over Thursdays. Dan, Pat, 26-year-old male, roommate, and Erin are college friends. The 4 of us went for dinner and drinks on Friday. It was a good night overall, and this was the first time I met Erin. On the car ride home at 2 a.m., Erin said, "Here's my read of people. Grace, that's me. You're an instigator and you pick fights. Dan, you say things sometimes that Grace doesn't like, so she picks fights with you. Pat, you're calm and have opinions you keep to yourself." Pat and Dan both started laughing and agreeing with her. I said, "I don't agree. I can expand on this, but it's just not 100% accurate." The 4 of us went back and forth, and Erin doubled down with Dan and Pat adding on. Finally, I said, "Look, Erin, you have 4 more days in our house, so..." And I thought the implication was, let's not stir the pot. I did not yell or raise my voice. My tone was definitely irritated, but I did not attack her personally at all. Erin immediately got very sad, said she has autism, so she can't read social cues. She said she was just joking and can find a hotel. I said, "You don't need a hotel, but let it go." Dan started apologizing, saying, "Grace doesn't handle criticism well." I said my response wasn't that bad. Dan said, "It only would have been worse if you shot her. I'm apologizing for you because I know you won't." Erin continued to look dejected in the living room with Pat consoling her. Afterwards, I asked Dan if he was mad at me. He said obviously because I was a weenie to his guest, I overreacted and lost my shoot. I should have given her the benefit of the doubt. She was just joking. I lashed out and proved her point that I'm an aggressor. I said I don't agree, and here's where I'm losing my mind. Erin criticized me unprompted. I responded with annoyance. How am I the instigator here? It was 2 a.m. and we all had drinks. I don't know this woman. Obviously, her friends Dan and Pat are more favorable since she didn't insult them. I expressed this to Dan, but he still thinks I'm at fault. He said I basically told her to leave. I said that wasn't my intention at all, but he said nobody took it that way. I literally didn't say anything about her leaving. Anyways, Erin came in after. I said I'm sorry, what I said came out differently than I intended. I meant to say we shouldn't stir the pot, etc. She apologized too, and we all made up. Regardless, Dan is still treating me like the problem and excluded me from our lunch plans. When I asked, he said, "I'm not sure if you're actually regretful, and we won't be good until I'm convinced you're truly sorry so it won't happen again." I'm pissed off about the double standard. I'm pretty sure he didn't talk to Erin about what she said. Yes, I could have handled things better, but am I really the AH? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1, not the idiot. But it sounds like your roommates are not your friends. It may be time to find actual friends and just keep roommates at arm's length. It doesn't sound like any of them have a very high opinion of you and treated what were obviously rude comments as undeserving of your response, which by the way seemed very reasonable to me. Sometimes you defuse a bomb by igniting a secondary bomb. Comment 2. When did I have autism become the new sorry I was drunk excuse for doing rude and annoying things? And for someone who says I don't pick up social cues, he was sure good at reading these people's mannerisms and personalities. Everyone sucks here now. For the update, hey everyone, it's been a rough week since my last post. A lot has happened, and I feel like I need to share an update with you all. So the day after the car ride incident, things were still pretty tense between Dan and me. He was giving me the cold shoulder, and I could tell he was still upset about how I reacted to Aaron's comments. I tried to talk to him about it, but he just brushed me off, saying he needed more time to process everything. Later that day, I overheard Dan and Aaron talking in the living room. I didn't mean to eavesdrop, but I couldn't help but listen in when I heard my name mentioned. Aaron was telling Dan about how she felt bad for what she said and that she didn't mean to upset me. Dan, on the other hand, was still defending her, saying that I overreacted and that I needed to learn how to take a joke. Hearing that conversation made me realize that maybe I did overreact a bit. I mean, Aaron was just trying to be funny, and I took it way too personally. I decided to apologize to her again and try to smooth things over with Dan. The next day, I pulled Aaron aside and apologized for my behavior. I told her that I was just tired and a bit drunk that night, and that I didn't mean to come off as aggressive. She was really understanding and said she was sorry too for making assumptions about me. With Aaron and I on good terms, I thought things would go back to normal with Dan. But boy was I wrong. He was still giving me the cold shoulder and excluding me from plans with Aaron and Pat. I tried to talk to him about it, but he just kept saying that he needed more time to trust me again. It wasn't until a few days later that I found out the real reason behind Dan's behavior. Turns out, Dan has had feelings for Aaron for a while now, and he was hoping to use this visit as an opportunity to get closer to her. When I attacked her that night in the car, he felt like I was ruining his chances with her. I was shocked when I found out about Dan's feelings for Aaron. I mean, he had never mentioned anything about it before, and I had no idea he was even interested in her. It made me realize that maybe I was being a bit insensitive that night in the car. I was so focused on defending myself that I didn't even consider how my words might have affected Dan and his relationship with Aaron. With this new information, I decided to have a heart-to-heart with Dan. I apologized for my behavior and told him that I had no idea about his feelings for Aaron. I said that I would never intentionally try to sabotage his chances with her, and that I was truly sorry for any pain I might have caused him. To my surprise, Dan actually opened up to me about his feelings for Aaron. He said that he had liked her for a long time, but had never had the courage to tell her. He was hoping that this visit would be his chance to finally make a move, but he felt like my behavior that night had ruined everything. I felt terrible hearing Dan pour his heart out like that. I realized that I had been so focused on my own feelings that I hadn't even considered how my actions might have affected others. It was a wake-up call for me, and I knew I needed to do better. In the end, Dan and I were able to work things out. He forgave me for my behavior, and I promised to be more mindful of how my words and actions might affect others in the future. Erin ended up extending her stay for a few more days, and I could tell that she and Dan were getting closer. As for me, this whole experience taught me a valuable lesson about the importance of communication and empathy. I realized that I need to be more aware of how my words and actions might be perceived by others, and to always try to put myself in their shoes before reacting. It's been a tough week, but I feel like I've grown a lot from this experience. I'm grateful for my friendship with Dan and for the opportunity to learn and grow from my mistakes. Anyway, that's all for now. Thanks for reading, and I'll keep you all updated if anything else happens. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.